hello, and hello. Welcome again to yet another exciting edition of Sports This Morning on your award-winning station, Channels Television. It's great to be here again to talk sports like no other, like we normally do here on the show. And it's going to be an interesting package, definitely. So you please stay with us while we take you around the world, serve you with all the latest, juicy, and interesting stories in and around the world of sport. We hope you had a fantastic Eid al-Kabir holiday. So it's back to work wherever you are around the country. And of course, if you're watching us outside our shores, we're indeed delighted to have you. Welcome again. I'm yours truly, Ayotunde Balogun.
Good to be back. I'm Cecilia Omorogbe. Thank you for staying tuned on the show.
Okay, she says it's good to be back here. We're also delighted that Cecilia is back on the show. And of course, to you, wherever you are in the world watching us, you've always been here with us watching Sports This Morning on Channels TV. We're saying, let's do it again this morning. I'm Austin Okunapa. Welcome on board.
All right, so let's serve you with what to expect in the course of the show, Cecilia.
Definitely, we're starting with the Tigers. And of course, they were in action again yesterday. And for the third game, they were able to, how do I describe the game? A blowout, so to speak. The dominance was great. The Tigers defeating Guinea by as much as 100 to 47 points. That was massive. Their second win of the tournament.
Interesting one there for dominant D Tigers. We are indeed happy about their exploits, and we hope they can go all the way. Well, in football, it's the Nigeria Professional Football League, definitely. And for the People's Elephant Enyimba International, well, their title hopes might just still be alive, as they've now opened a gap at the top, 5 points clear. Well, they beat Wiki Tourist, but with a couple of games to go, you never know what can still happen. So for Enyimba, they're still watching over their shoulders.
5 points clear, I think that's great.
And while Enyimba are hoping to win the title, Nigeria's under-20 women's team, the Falconets, they've cleared the first hurdle towards qualifying for the 2016 FIFA Women's World Cup after defeating DR Congo by 2-1. They went to the Tata Raphael Stadium in Kinshasa and they did a job well done.
That's a good job for them. And I think for the Falconets, it's definitely going to be another outing at the World Cup next year. Remember, they still have one more game to play. Or rather, 2 more games, but there's going to be a return leg in Abuja. And of course, the next one would definitely be between Zambia or South Africa. But I think South Africa, and for the Falconets, of course, when it comes to qualifiers, they will definitely be there next year.
And not just the qualifiers, they got to the finals in the last edition.
Of course.
The Falconets looking good. A lot of followers of women's football in Nigeria believe if any of the teams will win the World Cup, it will come from the national under-20 team, the Falconets. And with Peter Dedewo and this team that keeps getting better, we're certain that on the 10th of October, when they take on DR Congo in the second leg, they will just cruise.
You're looking for another 14 or 7 girls.
Like what they did to Liberia.
Yeah, but I think it was really a cool one for them. If you check, I mean, most people who traveled with them, to DR Congo to watch the game, they said more than 25,000 people actually, came out to watch that game. So when you're having a crowd behind you, and of course another team coming to your home and beating you, I think it's really a sad one for them. I wouldn't really, for me, I think they didn't really get it right at all. But I just pity them. But when it comes to Falconets, of course, we know they were going to win that game. Well, having 25,000 people watching and cheering the team to victory, but at least they were able to get one goal.
And guys, let's not forget about the Rugby World Cup, which is still ongoing, of course, in England. And I saw the game, Australia beating Uruguay. I think that was an interesting one because it wasn't even their full-fledged squad, having to battle with injuries and all of that. But they came through, winning 65-3. And that really put them.
That's dominant.
Dominant, yeah. I mean, definitely because you expect that when second string team, still showing that dominance, and it just goes to show that they are indeed a powerhouse when it comes to rugby.
Yeah, of course, that's Australia for you. for me, this year's World Cup has been one of upsets. When we saw
Wales and England, yes, I was shocked. I was shocked about the game.
The Welsh team, they stunned the English team right there. It's crazy. I remember,
check their injury list.
We started with Japan, and
South Africa.
And now we're seeing Wales.
People are still talking about that game up to this moment.
And that's the best part of sports, when it brings those upsets, when those teams think that they are so dominant up there, they just, push them away. So I think it's a good one for rugby, because, I mean, some people already have some names they call out when they talk about rugby. Same thing with cricket. Let's see if other sports will begin to, maybe someday we'll have Samoa beat Brazil.
In football, no way. I think that's not going to happen. There's some things that will never happen.
They will have to go to Brazil.
Well, it's sports. Anything can happen, Cecilia. You never know. I mean,
okay, let's say maybe 50 years from now.
No, you've not been around. A lot of shocking things have been going on.
Even right here on the show.
Super Falcons.
Are we going to go there?
Couldn't qualify for the Olympics. Went to Congo.
Yeah. And they lost 3 games in a row for the first time. Yeah, I know that.
He told you that that's the remedy. Go to Congo and win gold. I say Nigerian stake. Well, sorry for missing out of Rio.
Yeah, Is that easy, right?
So you, of all people, shouldn't come and start saying that some things cannot happen in football.
What I mean, no, if you check the level of development, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Samoa and I'm looking at football. It's not just there. They've never even qualified for any major tournament. Now, when it comes to rugby, that's their strong point. So for them to be qualifying for most World Cup in rugby simply means they are there in that aspect. But football, Samoa, Brazil definitely is not good. But if you're going to Super Falcons,
she will go on and on and on.
Football in Africa, Cote d'Ivoire to Nigeria is like Samoa to Brazil. And then
no,
women's football in Africa.
No, it's not the same thing. Like
Cote d'Ivoire, come on, Austin. Cote d'Ivoire and Cameroon, remember, Cote d'Ivoire and Cameroon were at the World Cup. They made their debut, and of course, apart from Cote d'Ivoire, who were not really
to the Nigerian
outstanding. No, what stage did Cameroon get to?
I'm saying Africa.
Who is number 2 in African football? In African football, have you checked the rankings? Super Falcons, Nigeria number 1, Cameroon number 2, Cote d'Ivoire number 3. So you have the top 3 teams, followed by Equatorial Guinea. Go and check it out. So they're actually breathing down on the neck of the Super Falcons.
Coming down, really, they're dropping.
Of course, we're dropping, but in Africa, we're still number 1, followed by Cameroon. That's what I'm saying. So Cameroon is very close. So Samoa and Brazil, it's like this.
So maybe
38 in the world right now. We understand dropping like 9 points.
That's not where we want to be.
When Uganda women's
if
the Super Falcons,
it's not going to happen. I think Nigeria Football Federation, you're listening to Austin. Definitely, you're not going to allow that to happen, because I know when if you have to focus on the Super Falcons, if you focus on them, because I remember after the All Africa Games, during that, said, in 2 weeks. No, I'm not talking about
food. The Nigeria Football Federation didn't feed them.
I think it wasn't the feeding. I think it's preparations. We talk about this. When we asked the coach Christopher Danjuma, before they went, he was actually on this show. I was still around at that, and we asked him what are the preparations like. He said, of course, they are playing friendlies around as usual, playing the boys. And he says, okay, if the NFF can organize friendlies for them, it's going to be better for them. Of course, we spoke to Ayansi, right? And he says it's it's on the pipeline as usual. I mean, they were preparing friendlies for them, and of course for the Super Eagles and all the teams. But Super Falcons didn't get to play any.
I just looked at the menu now. Super Falcons is not even part of it.
You started it. You started it. I mean, you saw me and you started it.
We're supposed to be looking at the Africa Games. I mean,
precisely.
Like we've been doing within the past couple of days. Taking a look at some of the events that have been going on. Yeah, from boxing to athletics, powerlifting, and all of that. So
Super Falcons are also at the game.
Austin, come on. So we're still continuing with a post-mortem, if you like, at the just concluded Africa Games. And hopefully we shall be taking a look at wrestling in the course of the show. We hope to also connect with Daniel Igali, who's the president of the Nigerian Wrestling Federation, to take us through and give us some of his thoughts, of what happened in Brazzaville, Congo. But Austin, definitely, well, for wrestling, I mean,
Of course, wrestling, they were dominant. Nine gold medals.
19 medals in all.
In total, always you can be sure Blessing Oburududu and Odwanya, they were here, and they said they were going there to get gold, and that's it. They went there, they did what they had to do, they got the gold medal. Boxers as Amas Daniels, Sikibo, these are talented wrestlers we have in this country. Ayotunde and Cecilia, don't be shocked. Since after the Commonwealth Games, they didn't get to turn around or sleep on the mats for wrestling until they did the national trials 3 weeks before the African Games.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Almost all sports.
And they can still go, not all sports, please.
Almost, I said almost all sports.
I didn't say almost, you're making it look like maybe football and athletics, they're part of it. Don't even talk about athletics yet. What I'm saying is, I'm trying to let you guys understand the sort of talent we have in wrestling. And then the National Sports Commission, if you can get one sport, give you 19 medals, 9 gold medals, you should go back. And then while you're trying to evaluate the games, you take that sport and then say, let me give time and attention to this sport.
Exactly.
They can
Athletics got more than that, right?
Yeah, athletics got 10 gold medals.
Exactly.
Yeah, athletics did. Athletics,
number one in Africa, right?
Most of them coming from the female athletes.
We can count the number of times, Cecilia, that we talk about athletics here that we haven't done with wrestling. You know, particularly since after the Commonwealth Games. So I'm just saying that if we get this stuff right, it will look good. Not just wrestling, we also spoke about tennis.
Everybody knows 3 medals.
Oh, please, you got just a silver. Just a silver medal in the men's team event. Now, I'm not saying they were poor. I won't come out and say any sport that doesn't get the sort of attention that maybe football gets or athletics, it's unfair to come out to say they were poor. Because we can count the number of times we won't talk about tennis, even as a media. Table tennis gave us reasons to talk about them. You know we have good tennis players. Of course, you know Sunday Manuel. We even have, what's her name, coming up the ranks, Quadri. Yeah, she's doing so well. Even got scholarship recently to go, study and also play tennis. So I'm saying that it's about time. Those sports that didn't do well, NSC, go back. And
look at them. I think I actually get your point. If you look at what London, after the Olympics, what they did was that they were looking at the fact that some sports did not really perform well despite the amount of money that were being given to them. So they decided to just overhaul everything and look at the sports that actually had more medals, and they started pumping money into that. That's why in basketball, in the UK right now, the money was actually reduced in England because despite the money that was pumped into it, they just couldn't get when the expectation was very low. So at the end of the day, reduced. But other sports that had more medals and all that, so they had to pump in money into it. I think that's what we should also do. And look at the sport that gave you more medals. Just to encourage that sport and the federation, you can actually pump in more money. That would definitely help.